Sponsored by Kill Strike. Welcome back to the Rod and Crump Show. I'm your host, Rod.
I'm your host, Crump.
And we're just going to discuss some topics today, some controversial topics, maybe some sensitive topics, but we'll see what we get into. Is that right, Crump?
Hey. That's how I like it.
All right, man. First of all, how's your day been?
Man, it's been good, man. Just had a long day at work, That's all right. It's been a good day. I've been chilling, hanging out with my kids. Did some shopping a little bit earlier. What about you, man?
Not much, man. Chilling at home today with the kids, going crazy.
Right.
That's about it, man. Just at home with the kids today.
Right. That's what's up.
Shopping. But yeah, man, have you heard about that mass shooting going on in Texas?
I mean, man, like
happened in Allen.
I mean, like we talked about before, before we got on air, I don't really follow it that much, these mass shootings, because like I guess you can say I'm one of these people that kind of got numb to it. Like, you know what I mean? Like it happens, and then it's like, okay, like, there's that. I don't mean to belittle anybody that died in it or anything, but it's like we become so numb to it. It's just like it doesn't have that same shock value. Again, I'm sad that people died, but it just doesn't have that same shock value to me. So I don't really follow it, like a lot of other people would follow it. So,
okay.
I do, now if you talk about some of the older shootings like the Sandy Hook, Columbine, even some a little bit after that, like, I followed that a little bit. But as far as the ones that are happening now, like, I just don't.
Yeah.
I think it's important. Like, I had somebody at my job bring up to me, they brought up to me like, yeah, there's all these mass shootings going on in Texas. What's going on out there? Because they found out that I still go out to Texas once a month.
Yeah.
Because I'm in the Army Reserves. And then they were like, well, thoughts and prayers, right? Like saying it sarcastically, but nothing's ever going to get done. When are we going to do something about it? I like the guy at work, and I just
do about it.
Yeah, like I feel like he's just coming at the angle from more like a liberal perspective. He's a great guy. I love him. That's me. Like, I'm more libertarian, conservative, Republican. I don't care about your politics. If you're cool people, I'm gonna talk to you, be friends with you.
Yeah.
He's a cool dude. He's a liberal, but he's a cool dude. So, I just left it there. I wasn't gonna be like, well, what's gun control gonna do? But
you don't want to get into it.
Yeah, I know how 60% of the people in Jersey are, and they're more liberal.
But in all reality, I mean, what is gun control going to really do? I mean, so you could take guns off the streets, right? Go ahead, ban them all. Ban every single pistol, every rifle, everything you got to ban, right? And then what? Then what happens? We're going to have a black market of weapons. We're going to have, in my opinion, people are going to find new weapons to use. So we'll probably have mass stabbings. Maybe people will start making homemade bombs, mass bombings. Mass car crashes into buildings. I mean, there's several different things that could be done to kill a group of people. That's not just firearms. They want to directly aim everything at, firearms did this, firearms did that. But in all reality, it's not just, I mean, the firearms don't do anything. First of all, it's the human behind the firearm. Exactly. Firearms can't do nothing to you. It's the human behind the firearm. And if they get rid of firearms, it's just going to be human behind the steering wheel or human behind a knife. Then what are they going to do? Let's ban knives. Let's ban cars. I mean, how extreme are we going to go here?
And see, that's what I'm saying. Like, this is why I don't take progressives or leftists seriously when they talk about gun control, because we're not really talking about, we're not getting to the root cause. We're not getting to the root cause, or we're not really talking about serious solutions.
Exactly.
You can take guns, like you said, you can take all the guns you want off the streets. But until you're serious about closing the border or making the border secure, then you're going to have a black market of guns coming down from the cartels from Central South America. So I don't get how, I hear liberals talk about, gun control, but then they don't want to do nothing to stop the black markets from benefiting from us banning all the guns. Second of all, they don't ever talk about a solution. How are you going to confiscate all the guns?
That's going to be the hard part.
This is why I say that they're not serious about this issue. Just like they weren't serious about abortion. They talked about, after about a year ago, when the Supreme Court got rid of Roe versus Wade. And they were like, oh, we need to codify Roe. We need to codify Roe. Well, dude, y'all had the House, the Senate, and the presidency. If you wanted to make Roe a federal law, y'all could have done it. But they weren't serious. They were just talking. They were just talking. So, like, just like with this issue, they're not going to do nothing with gun control because they know that they can't confiscate all guns. They know they can't. And then third, they're not really getting, again, to the root cause. The root cause of why people do what they do. People don't go out there and commit mass murders because, oh, well, the guns are available or the gun told me to do it.
Exactly.
It's a psychological thing that makes somebody want to do it. So until we address the mental health issue of this country, then this, again, I'm not taking anybody seriously on the left that talks about this issue. Look at mass shootings that happen in inner cities every day.
Yeah.
Again, that happens. Why? Because of poverty, poor education system, and people that have no hope. So they resort to crime.
Yeah.
Again, where's the Democrats and the leftists plan on that? They don't have one. So again, I just cannot take them seriously. I cannot take these people seriously until they start acting like serious people.
Yeah, I agree with you, man. I mean, they don't ever really come up with any real life solutions. They just say, hey, ban this, ban that, but they don't want to come up with any real life scenarios to actually fix everything. Like people who are killing people in mass shootings. That's a mental health issue. What do they always say in like the news clippings and all that on Facebook or whatever when they talk about a mass shooting? Oh, this dude prior to the shooting, he was really quiet. He had some childhood trauma. He was going through some stuff.
Mm-hmm.
They dig a little deeper. They're like, oh, about 10, 15 years ago, this dude is in the army. Like this guy, for example, at the Allen, Texas shooting. He was in the army in 2008, right? Got discharged after 3 months. Didn't even make it past the initial basic training phase and all that. So I'm assuming he was an OSUT because OSUT goes a little bit longer,
Yeah.
So he got discharged 3 months in, didn't make it past his initial phase. And then, they were saying that, oh, we recognize some, pretty severe mental health stuff going on and night terrors, traumas, and things like that while he was in. So they decided, hey, we got to get rid of this guy because there were some serious issues, I guess, that they noticed that they didn't really elaborate on it too much.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, we can't really get into too much details about, prior soldiers and this and that. So they didn't go into too much detail, but they said he had some mental health issues going on. This was back in 2008. We're in 2023. So how long was he, going through some issues before they were like, hey, I think this guy might have some problems? Or did they just completely ignore it? Did he even want to get help? I mean, you know what I mean?
Right. Like, bro, like, look at the shooting that happened in Chicago. I don't know if I did hear that one. The shooting with the prior service member that was in a waiting room in a hospital and just shot everybody up. That person had mental health issues. His mom said, look, I asked the VA, please put him on this back on this medication. And they drugged their feet to do it. So again, this is a mental health issue, bro. This is not a gun issue.
I agree.
You can confiscate all the guns in the world, but as long as there's still that mental health issue, people are going to resort to pipe bombs, pressure cooker bombs, mass stabbings, handgun crimes. They're going to handgun shootings. They're going to resort to other things to kill people if they are hell bent on killing people.
Did you just say hand crump?
No, hell bent, and I meant handgun. But what I'm saying is like look what happened 2 Christmases ago when that guy up in Wisconsin just drove his car through a parade. Are you gonna ban all cars?
Some years back, there was a lady in Vegas who did the same thing on the Las Vegas Strip. She ran her car through a crowd of people. I mean, they weren't making a big deal about cars being banned at the time, or cars are killers.
Right. So like I said, like I cannot take these people seriously because they're not coming up with serious solutions. They're just not. It's like that's my issue with this country. Both parties, both ideologies, liberal, conservative, they just nobody comes up with major issues, major solutions to the issues that present us in the day. They just want to have these quick band-aid fix issues, and that's not how things work. We need major changes in this country. And I'm not just talking about gun control. We need major changes. But if you listen to our politicians, They just want to do these like band-aid fix, these temporary fixes. Like no, we need a full-scale revamp of this country in all aspects.
Well, you know why they do a band-aid fix, right?
Why?
Because that shows the masses like, hey, this guy right here is listening to my concern. They think that he's listening. I'm sure this politician knows that there needs to be some kind of actual issues addressed besides what these people are requesting. But he's like, hey, if I say, hey, I agree with you, I'm going to get X amount of votes for this election. So why not? Why not go out there and make all these promises and say I can do this, this, and that, and get everybody's hopes up? And then I get into office, tell them that I'm trying my best, and then I can't make it happen because banning guns is not a realistic solution. You can't just ban firearms. It's just not going to happen.
You can't.
There's too many people out there, too many firearms. I mean, you can go ahead and do what they did back in, what was it, Nazi Germany? They went door to door, taking people's weapons and stuff like that. You can't do things like that.
It's not going to happen. And if they even try to do that, they're asking for a civil war. They're asking for a catastrophe to happen in this country. The federal government would basically have to declare war on the people.
Exactly. And there's a lot more of us than there is them. So, I mean, what would the outcome of that even be? It could be bad. It couldn't be that bad, but it could also be bad. We never know. I prefer not to find out.
Right. But this is why, like, I've always told people, I'm okay for common sense things. I'm willing to compromise because at the end of the day, nobody's going to get 100% what they want.
True.
You would have more background checks on people. I can kind of agree with that. I don't want somebody who's a mass, who's, especially in a lot of these blue states, they were mass killers and now they're getting out for good behavior after 2 months of being in jail. I don't want them getting a firearm.
They already have background checks, though. That's what Nixon's for.
Yeah, they have background checks. Maybe I'm okay with more background checks. I'm not opposed to that. I think there could be more background checks. I don't believe, that like I said, I don't believe somebody who is a murderer should have a firearm. Now you can get into the constitutionality of that, whether you can really ban somebody, because it doesn't say in the Constitution you have a right to bear arms, except or unless you were a mass murderer. But we could talk about the constitutionality of it. But I do believe in, we could have more background checks. I'm fine with that. I'm not for banning any type of weapon, but I'm willing to compromise if I had to compromise and say more background checks, which is something that a lot of Democrats talk about.
But I mean, how much more could you go into somebody's background than they already do? I mean, I guess I could.
But see, I don't know. That's the thing. I don't own a firearm yet. So I don't know how deep they go into a person's background. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, it's just like, I don't know. Have you ever had like an FBI background check done before?
I'm assuming the one when I got my security clearance when I was in the military. I don't know if that was FBI or not.
Not that severe, no. I mean, no, it's not that severe. It's just a simple, take this application, put down your name, address, social security number, things like that, date of birth.
Right.
When you're in the system real quick, see if you pop up. If you don't pop up, you're good. And if you pop up, it's like you had any kind of issues. Usually it's like any violent crimes, domestic violence, things like that is what'll get you denied a firearm. But I've had it done on me before. It's pretty much like an FBI background check. They pretty much go through whatever they have in file. And I mean, I guess I could see that they might miss something, but at the same time, I don't really see that possible of them missing anything. You know what I mean?
I mean, yeah, like I said, I don't know because I've never applied. I do plan on doing it when I get my own place. But I don't, if I just go by what the Democrats say, there could be more background checks. But again, like I said, I'm just going off of other people's knowledge. I had never really did much research on it.
Yeah.
Nor do I know from experience. So
you're going to sit here, you're going to tell me you were in the Army, active duty. You're now in the reserves. You don't have a firearm yet. That's crazy. Man.
No, I mean, I don't live in a house that would be comfortable with it. So I respect the rules.
Okay. What about when you had your own thing going on? You know what I mean?
No, well, then my kid's mom didn't want one. My soon to be,
gotcha.
My ex, she didn't want one. So I didn't. I'm gonna respect the wishes. But I made sure, that, my view on that was known that, yeah, eventually I would want one. So maybe not right now. Maybe when the kids get older, we can revisit it. But now that I'm not with that person anymore, I haven't been for almost 4 years. Like when I get my own place, you know,
Yeah.
then yeah, I'm gonna get one.
Yeah, I agree. You should have a gun, man. I mean, I have three. I have a rifle and two pistols. I
Right.
love them. I shoot them. Currently in the process of teaching my daughter the basics of the firearm using the rifle, since she'll be shooting that one first.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, it's unloaded. I got
Right.
a lock on it at the same time as she's holding it and, practicing her aim and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Just kind of getting her prepared to go to the range. Want to take her down there hopefully in a couple of months. She's not quite there yet right now with
Right.
her mentality, but hopefully maybe in a couple months, maybe in a year. So I thought might as well just break down the basics for her so she kind of gets the idea.
Right. Right.
Because I'm a firm believer in having a firearm. Like I love firearms. I believe firearms. They're a great tool to have in emergencies. Because I've been in a situation before, back in what was it, 2010. I was in a situation where I wasn't living in a great neighborhood, and I had some random guy pop up to the apartment I was living at. He had a firearm. Decided he was going to go ahead and pull it out, say, "Hey, give me some money." Try to take my wife hostage. This, and that. And luckily he didn't shoot. I don't know if it was loaded or not. I did see a 357 come out, so that's
Mm-hmm.
the kind of weapon I did see. And at that time, if I would have had a firearm, I would have pulled it out, and I would have probably gave him 1 or 2 rounds, because that's an imminent threat to human life. That's a threat.
Mm-hmm.
That's a danger right there.
Right.
And so I've been in situations where a firearm was necessary. Luckily, that situation didn't go any further than it did. Things kind of got settled by giving the guy $20. But I was like 20 at the time, 19, 20.
Yeah. Yeah. That's fine.
So I was like, man, it was a situation where I don't really know what to do. So even maybe then, if I would have had a firearm, maybe I would have frozen, freaked out. But who knows, because you never really know what you're going to do in a situation like that until you're really in that situation, experiencing it.
Right. Right.
Because everybody can say, hey, I would have done this, or I would have beat that guy up, or I would have done that. But in all reality, when something like that happens that poses a threat to your life, you don't know what to do. You could freeze, you could freak out. It's just, you don't know. You don't know
Right.
until it happens. So that's why I personally believe in firearms, keeping my family safe. I got kids, got a wife, a lot of crazy people out there. And I live in Texas. Obviously, there's been, X amount of shootings going on out here in Texas. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I conceal everywhere I go. I go to the store, I conceal. I drive in my car, I've got it concealed in the glove compartment, or I have it in the cup holder next to me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really leave anywhere without my firearm, especially when I'm out, like family outings and stuff.
Right. And hey, man, like I said, you're using that tool how it was designed to be used as a tool for safety, as a self-defense
Exactly.
mechanism. Like I don't understand why, for example, we don't have a push nationwide to have all our schools armed or secured by armed guards.
See, but see, so that's a hard one, man, because at the same time, I could kind of see why they don't want to have somebody armed at the school. Because what if, like, let me give you an example. This gentleman that recently shot that mall up in Allen, Texas, right?
Mm-hmm.
He had a like security clearance or whatever, some kind of security background, like a level 2, level 3 security card. I'm not sure really how they do it here
Yeah.
in Texas, but he had some kind of security training, and I guess he was a security guard from what I read and what I found out. So I guess I could see their concern, because what if you do get that one guy, you hire him, and it's like, oh man, this dude's a mass shooter. Like a couple weeks later, this dude comes into the school, starts killing kids left and right. What if some like crazy mass shooter is like, hey, maybe if I apply at this job, I can go ahead and go into the school and do carry out the shooting I want to carry out. So I can kind of see where their concern is on that. So
Mm-hmm.
that's, for me, that's a hard one. I'm not sure how to address that really. So I think what they're doing right now is probably the best route. try to keep as many officers, like police officers, as you can in the schools. But even then, even some of those guys, could turn. You just never know. So
I mean, but I mean, I hear you on that. But if somebody comes up to the school with a firearm, so you just like they're just basically shooting a bunch of innocent people. There's nobody there to defend them.
yeah, exactly. That's
You
true.
know what I mean? Like I hear what you're saying, but I would like to know if somebody whoever's smart at statistics, what's more likely? What's the probability of that? That's your scenario happening compared to mine, because my scenario has happened a lot. It happens every year. It happens multiple times a year. You know, there are certain areas in this country that do have armed guards.
Yeah.
Maybe not a large enough sample size to make a determination if my theory is correct or not. But I think the odds of somebody being an armed guard going to the school one day and just shooting up the school is a lot less likely than somebody being crazy and just seeing a school and wanting to go up there and shoot it up. There's a reason why nobody's tried to shoot up a gun expo.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I agree with you completely. I'm just trying to kind of look at it from their perspective, to see what they're kind of thinking, trying to like get into their head a little bit to see how they see it. Because I'm trying to look at it from both sides.
Right.
Like, for example, the school my daughter goes to, I'm not going to say the name, but the school she goes to, when I first got her or brought her there, I was like, hey, what do you guys have in place for like if there's a mass shooter, if someone comes up to the school and starts killing people or tries to kill people? They're like, oh, well, we have bulletproof glass doors, and our glass inside the office here to us is also bulletproof. And I guess they have automatic locks and all that stuff on the doors. So that way bullets cannot penetrate the window and they can't just access the building as they want. So they go into complete lockdown mode, which I like that. That's awesome that they have that in place.
I mean, that's cool and all, but are all the windows in the school bulletproof?
See, from what they told me, from what I understood, yes. But again, you never know. They could just have the front bulletproof and there's other ones that aren't. But at the same time, if you're trying to carry out some kind of crazy attack, are you really going to go check out the rest of the windows and start shooting them all up? I mean, I suppose some people might.
I mean, if I've already committed, I'm not saying I would do this, but if I'm thinking like a mass shooter, if I've already committed to going to commit this act of violence, I'm not going to be deterred. Oh, this one window wouldn't break. Let me get out of here. Let me try again tomorrow. Like, no, they're going to try to go somewhere else to do it. So I don't know. I just feel like there should be something in place, some type of security measures in place where you have armed guards at the school protecting these kids, or even an on-duty police officer. Give them cash incentives like they do for a lot of things. Hey, you do a 12-hour shift at the school. That'd
be good.
That's where you're at. That's your place of duty for that day, and you do it. Excuse me, in a rotational way. Every couple of weeks, somebody else is up there doing it. You got to do something. But to have the school unguarded and just sitting there asking to be shot up, like we saw in Uvalde, like we've seen in all these mass shootings, man. Like, I don't know, it just doesn't sit right with me. And I get that you're trying to think, and understand what the other side is thinking, but to me, that other side again is not being serious about the issue.
Yeah, see,
it's just not. We have to live in the world that we live in, not the world that we want to live in. And the world that we live in, you have people that are wanting to commit murder of innocent people in a area that they know they won't face any opposition.
Yeah.
There's a reason why they don't go to police stations and try to commit mass murders at police stations. I haven't seen one at a police station, in my lifetime. I haven't seen a mass shooter.
Me either.
I haven't seen a mass shooter go to a gun expo.
No.
You know what I mean? Like,
they know those would be mistakes.
Right. Like, so they're going to the areas that are most vulnerable. And I don't see why this is a crazy argument to say, well, we need people who can shoot back at those people.
Yeah. No, I totally get what you're saying. See, the Uvalde thing, man, that I haven't read too much into it because I just started getting back into like politics and things like that. But from what I read, that school door was it was cracked open, like it was already open, like for someone to access the building. Who the hell does that? Who leaves it? I mean, so if you're see, it's just a kind of like careless thought. I know people. If you're gonna have a place with a bunch of unarmed people throughout the day, and you have the capability to lock that building, lock it. That's what it's there for. Why leave any room for anything to happen when you could prevent it by certain things you already have in place?
Right.
From what I heard about that situation, they didn't really prevent it. And I'm not trying to be, you know, blaming anybody or anything like that. But if people were less careless, that probably wouldn't have happened. I mean, I saw there was a cracked door. That's what I read. There was a cracked door in the media. The door was cracked open. So anybody, me, you, average Joe off the street, anybody could have walked in there. And that's exactly what this guy did when that happened.
Yeah. I mean, with Uvalde, I think that it's okay to ask more questions about that.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And I have other questions separate from the door. I want to know where did this kid get the means, meaning the cash to buy these high grade weapons? Because from what I heard, he wasn't making that much money. I think he worked at a fast food place. I don't want to say the wrong name.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure he worked at I think he worked at Whataburger. I'll say it, whatever. I think he worked at Whataburger. And he wasn't making that much money. Yeah, I mean, minimum wage in Texas is like 7 something. So I would like to know where did he get the money to get these high grade weapons? And it seems like the media just didn't want to. They told us that we found out how much it was. We found out that they were brand new, and then it was just like, yeah, we're not going to tell you pay for it. And I would like to know that, and that's okay to ask that type of question. It's not a conspiracy theory.
Yeah, no,
it's not thinking it's the government. I just want to know who funded him this money.
See, I think that answer could be simple though. So, I had a fast food job and I was like 16 years old. I was working at Subway, right?
Mm-hmm.
And minimum wage back then, God, I think it was like $7.25 an hour. This was back in like 2008.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was also like $7.25. I was getting paid like $7.15 or $6.85 or something like that because I didn't have the health insurance. Right. I forgot all the details of that, but anyway, I had a job at Subway. I worked I think it was like 30 hours a week, 25, 30 hours a week. I mean, I made a decent amount of money. I made a couple hundred a week. You make a couple hundred a week, you stack it up for a few months, you got enough money right there for a couple things. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying that nobody funded him, because somebody could have funded him. I mean, I'm sure somebody did fund him, because obviously he either had to have somebody go buy the weapons for him because he wasn't 21 yet, or he had to have been gifted these weapons by somebody. So there's definitely, there was definitely somebody involved in that gave him the weapons.
Right.
I'm not too sure on those details though. I didn't really look too much into it, but
yeah, me either.
There's a lot of questions that definitely could be asked. Like, I want to know why the police didn't rush in the building, like when the shooting was happening.
Right. Like, why you hear
didn't stop to begin with.
Or like you're hearing these kids get shot, and like you're not. I don't know if I can't say how I would react because I wasn't in that situation.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I know I would feel a lot more comfortable if I had 10 other people with me than if they just said go in by yourself.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So it's like, you know what I mean? So I'm like, why? What was the hesitation?
See, that's the question. See, if it would have been me, I can't say either exactly what I would have done, but knowing my personality, my attitude, I would have likely disobeyed orders and just went in anyway. Yeah, I would have been scared. I would have been scared as hell. Of course, who wouldn't be scared as hell going in, to that kind of a scenario? You could walk in the building and boom, you're dead. That's it. But at the same time, I would have to place myself in the shoes of like other people and be like, hey, what if that was my kid? What would I do? If that was my kid, I'll tell you right now, without hesitation, I'm going into that building 100% with a firearm, with or without anybody else. I don't care if I get shot, if I'm getting shot at. It's one of those things where it's like, hey, you got to do what you got to do.
Right.
So in that situation, I'm pretty sure I would have went in. Yeah, I would have been scared. But I mean, somebody had to stop him. And I believe at the end of the day, I believe that was the situation. Somebody actually went into the building that wasn't the police, and
It
they
was
did
it
stop.
was the Border Patrol agent.
Yeah, and he was off duty.
Yeah.
So see, he wasn't even on the clock, and he was just there. And that's a shame. Like you had to have some off-duty guy go into this building when there was uniformed police officers there that could have gone in with him or before him, but they're like, nah, I'm gonna chill. I'm gonna stay out here. I'm kind of scared. Whatever it was they were feeling, while
Right.
people are being killed inside. Like I don't understand. There's
Yeah, I
definitely
don't.
a lot of questions there.
A lot of questions that we won't get because the media doesn't want to. The mainstream media doesn't want to do their job and ask tough questions to
No,
people of power.
no, they know the question. They know the answers. They've asked the questions. The
Mhm.
thing is, they can't release the answers. Why? All these media outlets, they're owned by government, bro. They're owned by big
Right.
government. They're all owned
Big
by the
government and corporations.
exactly. I mean, who's going to speak up against that? You know, people get scared, you get death threats, things like that. And now this is like going into conspiracies, but at the same time, it's not a conspiracy because it's actually true. People have been threatened with their journalism. You know what I mean? Like, hey, I'm gonna post this, and they're like, no, you're not gonna post that. You're gonna wait. You're gonna chill out. And you're gonna do what we say because this is our show. We're running it. This is what you're gonna report. And of course, they want to report on all the stuff that makes everything look bad. Like, oh, look, it was a firearm. It was a firearm. That's all you've seen throughout all these mass shootings is, hey, firearms, firearms, firearms.
And it's the same one. People like
right.
crazy. Like we're not dumb. Like most of us aren't dumb. But I'm like, shouldn't people start questioning like why is it the same firearm over and over and over and over again?
Hold on,
you know, like
they say it is, right?
Oh, that's it because they copycat.
No, they say it's an AR. They're like, it's an assault rifle. Do you know what AR really stands for?
What does it stand for? I'm not a gun guy, so what does it stand for?
Arma light rifle.
Wow.
Not an assault. It's not an assault rifle.
I mean, I knew it was an assault rifle, but
it's an Armalite rifle.
Armalite.
And of course,
wasn't that the maker? Wasn't that the name? Like the brand or something?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. It's just, I don't get it, bro. There's just, I'm like, you know, the media, man. The media. This is why we need to have this show for me and you to come against, you know, certain media entities and expose them. And that's what I want to do. Like this is I want to expose the truth here. The truth will be told on this show, no matter what, no matter what happens, no matter what people say. Now, see, right now we have like what 1 subscriber on YouTube, but think about it. We get 20,000 more subscribers in a couple of months, or a year, or 2 years. We have 1 million. Then we're gonna start getting some, you know, questionable letters from probably certain agencies or some visits from people like, hey, you need to stop talking on this stuff. And you know what? I'm gonna let it be known right now. I'm gonna speak the truth, whether it kills me or not.
The truth needs to be out there.
Exactly.
It needs to be out there. And I love that we have this show. I love that there's other shows out there that are just average people who are saying, hey, I see what's going on. I'm going to call it like it is. The media is not going to do it. Cool. I'll do it. And they're going out there and they're getting the word out. And the mainstream media and the corporations and government hate it.
They do, because it exposes them.
It does expose them. And they can't really do anything about it.
That kind of brings me back to this. Sorry, I'm going to go ahead and go with this, you know, Texas shooting again. Allen, Texas issue. So the guy who did that shooting, right? I guess he had a patch on his vest that said RWDS, Right Wing Death Squad. Now, apparently, obviously, they're saying he was a right-wing extremist, of course.
Wasn't he Hispanic?
Yeah, Mauricio Garcia.
Yeah, that was his name, last name. Yeah. I did hear a little bit about it.
So they got this patch, right? Now, I did some research on it. It was a group that was formed in Chile back in like the 70s during this dictator's, you know, ruling of the country at the time. His name was here, let me look it up. I know it was I think it was Pinochet. I can't really pronounce the last name.
Pinochet? Yeah,
Pinochet. And so what they did was, you know, they got, you know, people from the far left or the left in general, and they would execute them, throw them out of helicopters, whatever they wanted to do. And here's the tricky, not even a tricky, it's just a twist. The U.S. government was in on it. The U.S. government found that the CIA funded this program for this to happen, and they funded a program where politicians and liberals were killed worldwide. I mean, in the U.S., in Europe, and everywhere. And I was just like, wow, but that gets into a whole nother story, a whole nother topic. And it doesn't really go into a conspiracy theory because there's actual documents on it that was found. And, they've been getting exposed left and right lately through like these, people leaking all the information through like WikiLeaks and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I found that out and I was like, wow, that is insane. They funded this kind of a program, but we're not going to get into that topic today. But yeah, that's the patch they found on him. And I guess this group has been known to attend like white supremacist rallies all over the country with this specific patch,
right?
RWDS. So, they're obviously calling him a right-wing extremist.
But they wouldn't call the trans shooter a left-wing extremist.
Oh, no, definitely not, because it's not politically correct.
Right.
Because no offense against the trans community at all, but they got to the media has to make it look good. They got to paint the perfect picture of the trans community because that's what's going on right now.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? They got to make everything look right. It's got to be politically correct because that's just how the media wants to portray it right now.
Right.
And see, it's things like that I don't understand. But you get this one guy, he's got this one patch, and you're like, hey, he's a right-wing extremist. Was he? Maybe he was. Do we know his views? Not necessarily. They haven't even found a motive yet on why he did it.
Right.
No, he had a social media account through a Russian social media place. I think it was what was it? OK.ru.
Yeah.
Something like that. Some strange social media from Russia. And he had pictures of like firearms and him in armor and the pictures of the Allen Outlet Mall almost a month ago from when the shooting happened.
Right.
And then I guess his profile picture was a smiley face with a Hitler mustache. So I guess he had some extreme beliefs, but that just goes into like BLM. They're a left-wing extremist group. So obviously, yeah, there's going to be right-wing extremist groups. Doesn't mean everybody on that side is bad from either side, from the left or the right. There's always people that are like right there in the middle that are like, hey, I don't want that. I'm not agreeing with that. You're going too far. You know what I mean? It's just everybody. There's people they're going to come out on both sides that are extremists, but do they get exposed that way? No, they don't get exposed that way. Like BLM, they're always saying, oh, BLM fighting for Black lives, this and that. BLM is a corrupt organization that frauds people out of money. They steal money from hardworking people. And they're like, hey, we're helping the Black community. But in all reality, they're not doing none of that. There's this documentary by Candace Owens called The Greatest Lie Ever Sold.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a documentary that kind of exposes BLM for what they really are. They go into like the history, how they started it, and where the money has kind of been going, because it's all public information, IRS, their tax records.
Right.
And I guess they bought like 2 mansions, one mansion in LA that I know of, and one in Canada. Mm-hmm. And I guess the one in Canada was under the co-founder's wife's name, because I guess the wife is a transgender person. And they were found to have been donating hundreds of thousands of dollars to transgender organizations. And when you look even deeper into these organizations to see where the money that they received has been spent, you can't really find any records about where it's been spent. There is no record. There's no documents. They haven't even filed taxes for the most part. So everything is just kind of missing. And BLM is, they're a left-wing extremist group. That's just how it is. They're a domestic terrorist organization. They're not in it to help the Black community. They're just in it for their own benefit, to gain money and to live the life they want to live, and just to sell people lies.
Of course. I mean, like I was telling you earlier, the Black Lives Matter founders, like one of the main founders, she had 2 houses in rich white neighborhoods, and the only reason why she got exposed was because she tried to buy a 3rd house, which, by the way, they were in the millions of dollars. Them houses were worth millions. She tried to buy a 3rd house in the Bahamas. Now, hey, I give her credit for trying to buy a house at least in one Black area. But dude, you were not a millionaire before you founded this organization, and now you're a multimillionaire trying to buy your 3rd house in the Bahamas.
Exactly.
Like this organization is a joke. It's a fraud. They don't care about Black lives. If they cared about Black lives, they wouldn't be so okay and run to the defense of pro-choice people. Why? Because who's the number one victim of abortions? Black babies. If they cared about Black lives, they would go to the inner cities and want to tackle the issue of Black on Black crime instead of making excuses for it. But they don't. You cared about Black lives. Use some of those millions of dollars that you had to invest in inner city urban urban programs for disadvantaged, Black youth. Why not? I don't see Black Lives Matter anywhere unless a white cop is perceived or has done something wrong to a Black person.
That's when Black Lives Matter.
That's when Black Lives Matter. Black lives don't matter if other Black lives want to kill another Black life. Black lives don't matter if a Black mom wants to kill her baby. Black lives don't matter, if you're not getting an education because leftists have failed your community. Black lives don't matter, if you have no type of economic base in your community, because again, so left-wing socio-economic policies, have destroyed any type of economic development in your area. Black lives don't matter then.
Nope.
Black lives don't matter if Joe Biden runs around and says that if you don't vote for him, you ain't Black. Then who cares about Black lives? Even though he just disrespected every Black life in the country in one sentence.
Yep. And see, what that organization has shown is that Black lives only matter when there's a white cop killing a Black person, and they see it as a way to get a bunch of money off of people from, hey, donate us this X amount of money, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to go against this and that. We're going to, get bail money for people who want to protest. But are they protesting? No, people are rioting. People are looting. People are killing other people. This isn't just a peaceful, hey, we're out there, Black Lives Matter protest. We're trying to do the right thing. No, this is, hey, we're out there. We're going to destroy this building. We're going to kill this business owner. We're going to set things on fire. And we're just going to see what happens after that. That is domestic terrorism at its finest.
Exactly. And, Black Lives Matter is nothing but a bunch of token Black people who have been chosen and or are being led by a bunch of white liberals, a bunch of elite white liberals, not the average white liberal, but the elite white liberals. Malcolm X warned us about these white liberals.
He sure
and it
did.
seems like a lot of Black people want to just fall in with these elite white liberals. I don't know why we're so loyal to a ideology and or a party that has done nothing for us but made our lives worse. And when I question a Black person about that, why they're so loyal to the Democratic Party, although the loyalty has gone down the last 8 years thanks to Trump.
Oh, yeah.
But I asked the ones that are still loyal, why are you loyal to the Democratic Party? Well, what has the Republican Party did? I said, you know what? The Republican Party hasn't done much. Not going to lie to you. But the only difference is they don't act like they're our saviors either.
No, not at all.
They don't sit up here and go on Black radio shows and talk about how they, trying to pander to Black people saying that they have hot sauce in their purse like Hillary Clinton did.
Oh man, yeah, I remember that now.
You know what I mean? Like they don't run around, wearing, African, clothes and, like you don't dress like that. They don't run around like AOC does and Hillary Clinton does, and they start talking like they grew up around in the ghetto. Like they don't chill. Like AOC, first of all, she's a big fraud. Her dad was some vice president of some architectural company, architectural company, whatever how you say it. Yeah, she was a privileged kid. You know what? And first of all, don't lecture me about racism when your ancestors were conquistadors. No, I'm just sorry. You can't don't lecture me. Okay? Don't talk about how I'm not really Black, dude. You're most of your ancestors came from Spain.
Let me ask you a question, Crump.
What?
Did you vote for Biden?
Hell no, I didn't vote for Joe Biden.
Black. I hope you know that.
Nah, I guess I ain't Black. According to Joe Biden. Again, we got to listen to old Joe, and this is the guy who said, poor kids are just as bright and talented as white kids.
Oh my God.
Who said if you who who used the word Negro 2 years ago when he was talking about Satchel Paige. What else did he do? He said, and when he was running against Obama in 2008, you cannot go into a 7-Eleven or Dunkin' Donuts without having a slight Indian accent. Yeah, he said that. That's a direct quote. What other racist stuff did Joe Biden say? I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think of all the racist stuff that Black Lives Matter and all these leftists, these white liberals, and these token black people who care about racism. Where were they at with that? They didn't call out Joe Biden when he supported segregation in the 1970s. His own vice president, when she ran against him in 2020, called him out on it. Kamala Harris called him out on supporting segregation of busing in the 1970s.
Yeah, he sure did. He supported it, and he also did support it to keep black people in prison longer.
He's the reason why he was the main author of the 1994 crime bill. Nobody knows what the author of a bill means. That means they were the primary writer of that bill. And that bill, that 94 crime bill, incarcerated so many millions of black men because they specifically targeted black people. That was a bill that specifically targeted black people that Joe Biden wrote.
Yeah.
That's crazy when you think about it. He wrote that bill that specifically targeted black people.
But now he's all black, man. He's in support of BLM. He loves the black community, this and that. You know, I don't, it's all a puppet show, man. I obviously don't buy it. I know a lot of people buy it. I don't know why people buy it. It's kind of crazy, man. If you look at Biden's track record, his track record has been all against minorities throughout his entire political career since he started, like since the beginning. He doesn't have the best track record at all when it comes to, you know, black people or minorities in general. He's just not the best candidate. But now, you know, fast forward to 2023, a lot of those people are either dead or forgot about it, and now they're like, "Oh, hey, I'm Joe Biden. I support black people. If you vote for me, you're black. If you don't, you're not black." You know,
right?
Like, how do you go from that to this? Like, how?
Because of Trump. Trump broke half the country. I've said this for years. Donald Trump broke half the country. Mentally, he just broke them. And now they will contradict themselves. Trust me, I made a list of how much progressives have contradicted themselves on every little issue, bro.
Trump went off, man.
Like he did. Like look at the issue, the trans debate, right?
Yeah.
So when the transit debate really started becoming like a main issue, which was the beginning of last year, right? Excuse me. He was like, they were like, okay, well, you don't need to have female reproductive organs to be considered a woman. Okay, cool. Fast forward a couple months later when the Dobbs decision came down and they overturned Roe versus Wade. Then they were saying, when people like me and you would comment, would say something, us men, they would say, "Oh, do you have a uterus? Oh, because you don't. So that means you're not a woman. So that means you don't have a say in what goes on with my body." So I'm like, hold up. 2 months ago, you said I didn't need to have that to be considered a woman. Now I do need it.
They contradict themselves. They constantly contradict
themselves. Because this is what happens when you base your ideology solely off of raw in the moment emotion.
Yep.
This is why these people are dangerous. Their policies are dangerous, but also their mentality is dangerous. Because could you imagine just basing everything that you felt and your reaction to something off the in the moment emotion? Bro, we'd be in jail.
We'd be farther. I believe we'd be extinct as a human race, dude. Like, as
humans, there would be no human race. Because you cannot base your viewpoint off of just raw in the moment emotion. Like, these people are insane. These people are insane. I mean, I could go on with the contradictions. I mean, the one reason why I stopped supporting the Democratic Party 12 years ago is because everything that they hated about the Bush administration, the surveillance state, how government is just, how government spies on people, how government has too much power. They fell in love with government under Obama. They fell in love with the Obama's wars. Yep. They fell in love with the power. And that's why progressives, they control almost every lever of our society, whether it's in corporate America, whether it's in entertainment, whether it's in government. It's not the cool thing to be a liberal no more or progressive.
Yeah.
Really, the counterculture is being a conservative because that's not the end thing.
You want to hear something funny about Obama too? Did you know under the Obama administration, more people from down south, like Mexico and Argentina, places like that, were deported than they've been during like the Bush
Yes,
administration or Trump or anything like that?
yes, I knew that.
That's insane,
And,
right?
and you and there was a picture back, I want to say maybe 2018, 2019, where they had these kids in cages,
Yep.
and then they blamed Trump for it, but
Yep.
somebody blew the whistle on that, said no,
They were already there.
that video footage is from 2014 when Barack Obama was president. Barack Obama and Biden threw all these kids in cages. And Biden continued the policy of throwing kids in cages. Not only does he continue the policy, he keeps these people in these jail cells on the floor with space blankets. And then you talk about COVID. You talk about COVID. I know for a fact that a lot of these kids are sick when they come up here, and these adults are sick, whether they have lice, measles, chicken pox, you name it, they got it. And not all of them, but a good majority of them do. And what do? You just put them in a bunch of cages on cold concrete floors with space blankets.
Yep. Well, you got to think about too the environment they're coming from. I mean, some of these people, they travel through like an underground railroad of just different methods of travel. Just they go through car, they walk, they swim, they go underground. There's a lot of different ways of traveling, and throughout their travels, they don't you don't just get to pull over and hey, I need to take a shower or hey, I need to use the restroom. And obviously, you're going to encounter dirty people. You're going to come across dozens of people. You're going to take other people's clothes, this, and that. So yeah, diseases are bound to be transferred. Head lice is bound to be transferred and stuff like that.
Right.
And obviously, they come here. They're like, hey, I'm here. Help me. They're like, nope, we're going to put you in a cage with like everybody else. And you're all just going to share everything because that's how it is. Like, I don't know if you heard about right now what's going on at the border. There's a border crisis. It's
Title 42 about to be repealed. Yeah.
In El Paso right now. And I guess this this bill that Trump enacted when he was in office, it expires next month. And I guess Biden has no intentions of renewing it. So they're sitting there waiting. They're like, hey, I'm just going to wait right here until this ends. And I'm just going to jump right on over.
Hold on. I don't mean to cut you off, but I forgot with the Afghanistan pullout, Biden said, oh, that was already in place. He couldn't do nothing to repeal that. Supposedly all that was already in place, right? But he could repeal everything else Trump does, but he couldn't repeal that.
Because it wasn't politically correct for him to take that away. He had to keep that in place because, hey, we have to make Trump look bad. Now, I'm not saying Trump is the best person in the world or the best president we ever had, but I'm also not going to say he was the worst either because, did he do certain things that were a little extreme? Yeah, maybe. But this country needed something like that. They needed somebody like him. When he was in office, people feared Trump. Russia feared Trump. China feared Trump. People look up and they're like, yeah, I'm not even gonna press those buttons today. I'm gonna kick back and relax. Now Biden's in office. Now they're all like, oh, we're gonna blow up America. We're gonna start a war. We're gonna go ahead and leave this and that, and we're gonna make our own dollar. We're gonna combine together and kick you guys out of it. Like, yo, no, like when Trump was in office, that stuff didn't happen.
It didn't. So real quick, I know because we only got like 5 minutes left.
Yeah.
So I did want to pick your brain. I did want to pick your brain on. I know you haven't really been following the presidential politics yet, but DeSantis. You know who that is, right?
Yeah, the governor of Florida.
Yeah. So you know who Trump is.
Oh yeah, of course.
There's a guy that I like. His name is Vivek Ramaswamy. He's Indian American, 37 years old. CEO.
I've heard a little bit about him. I'm not too familiar though.
I like him. Right now, I love Trump. I always love Trump, but my support is kind of fluid for Trump. So it's kind of like all over the place. So I like DeSantis. I like Trump. I like Vivek, but I like RFK Jr. I ain't gonna lie to you. RFK Jr. is talking a lot of truth. Look at a couple speeches he made. I may have to find it for you.
Okay.
He's talking about how we need to end the war in Ukraine. That's not our war. We need to stop giving them hundreds of millions of dollars and support this country. We need to secure the border. We shouldn't have a wide open border. We need to stop vaccinating all our kids and force them to get vaccinated because a lot of this stuff isn't safe. RFK, I like RFK.
Yeah, I have to look into him a little bit. I do agree with some of that stuff. Like I don't
That's why
believe
they don't want him and Biden in a debate.
I don't believe we belong in Ukraine at all. Like, why are we there? Why are we sending them millions of dollars in equipment? Why are we, opting to fund their equipment when it breaks down to maintenance all their stuff? Like, no, this is not our problem. Like, I
Well, look,
understand they're a country in need, but we need to focus on our own country, what's going on here first, and start, taking our people out of other people's problems. Like, we can't defend the world. I know the
well,
US.
you know what the neocons and the people who support the Ukraine intervention would say. Well, we can walk and chew gum. Okay, well, you're walking. When are you gonna start chewing the gum?
Yeah, no, I totally agree.
You know what I mean? Like I don't believe we should be over there in Ukraine. It's not our war.
No, I don't believe so either. I think it's a waste of money. It's a waste
I
of
think.
time.
Well, I mean, you've seen. Oh, I remember reports last year that some of the Ukrainian troops were selling some of our equipment on eBay or selling it to black markets.
Well, yeah, it's good stuff to them. I mean, to us, we were in the army, so we know, like, firsthand experience how bad military equipment can really be, and we also know how good certain things can be. But I mean, I don't know, man. It's just, I don't know. See, it makes no sense to me because we pulled out of Afghanistan, right? Just to go back and throw our soldiers into Ukraine. Like, what was the point of even pulling out of there? Like, why did we pull out in the first place?
Well, I mean, Joe Biden. I mean, that kid who leaked that information in Massachusetts, the National Guardsman. You hear about that?
Yeah, the Air Force guy, right?
Yeah, he leaked the information, basically saying that he leaked it on Twitch, one of those gaming websites to his friends. But anyway, the information that we found out is that first of all, we have special forces in Ukraine.
Oh, that's obvious. Yeah, of course.
Advising the Ukrainians. The last time we were advising was in Vietnam when we were shooting at the Vietnamese. And that was in the early 60s.
Special forces and everything. See?
But that's a declaration of war. We shouldn't. I don't mean to cut you off, but that's something that if an American soldier gets killed by a Russian, or a better scenario, if a Russian unit is shooting at American special forces, are you telling me that the American special forces is going to run away or just let them get shot? No, they're going to shoot back. Oh, Joe Biden had no right to send them in there without declaring war on Russia. He's basically declared war on Russia without getting any type of approval from Congress.
Yeah, that's true. But at the same time, I mean, I don't know what you believe in as far as like who runs the country. But in my personal opinion, the president, he's a puppet. He's a puppet he's just the face of, the true, the people who run the show.
What Vivek calls the managerial state. But go ahead.
There's people behind him that run everything. And people refer to them as the Illuminati or whatever other, group they want to refer to them as. But in all reality, I believe it's, corporate America. They're the ones in charge. Just think about it. They fund all these elections. They want all these certain laws to pass through the banks, things like that. Who really runs the show here? It's definitely not them. It's not Biden. It's definitely corporate America. It's the big banks and stuff like that. They run everything. They rule the world. What is his name? The Rothschild family. I don't know if you've ever heard about them.
Yeah, I have.
That they've been an elite family since like the 1700s,
the medieval times.
For forever ago, dude. Like they opened the first bank ever.
Well, yeah, that's true. The first modern bank. Yeah.
So it's just it's crazy because Biden's just a face. He's just a scared face. And does he agree with some of this stuff? I believe so. Yeah, he does. But at the same time, he's not calling all the shots either. You know what I mean? He's got someone controlling him, telling him what to do, what to say, and how to do it. Trump, on the other hand, Trump was already a millionaire. He didn't care. He had nothing to lose. They couldn't take his money away. They couldn't just, throw Trump away. It wasn't that simple. Trump funded his own election on top of that.
Right.
Didn't even take his salary from when he was president because he already has all the money in the world he needs. Like, he don't care.
Right.
So he did what he did. He came out with whatever he felt, and those people got scared of that. They did not want that in charge of the country because they were like, hey, Donald, we need you to do this. And he was like, nah, I'm going to do what I want to do. I'm going to do this. He would do it, and they were like, oh, my God, I'm scared. Like, he's gonna start some craziness.
Right.
The craziness he was going to start was putting this country back on track where it needs to be. And that's what they're scared of because it ruins all of their plans. If, they bring jobs to America, it's going to cost more money for the business. They're going to have to start hiring real workers who want 20, $30 an hour to do good, hard labor versus some little Chinese kid in a sweatshop that's working for like pennies. And that's reality.
Right, right. It is, man. You speaking truth. You're speaking some truth, man. And that's why I agree with RFK. We need a peaceful revolution in this country to wake people up to what's going on with our government and with corporate America, with the banks, with the military industrial complex, with the censorship complex, with our entertainment industry, how they're all coming after us, and we need to stand up and peacefully fight back. But
I believe that too. I believe that we should do that. But people, when I talk to people about it, dude, like regular people, like just people on the street, people I know, I'm like, hey, so what do you think about this? They're like, oh, I don't care. It doesn't affect me. And I'm like, hold on, stop. It doesn't affect you now, but it will affect you in the long run. This is going to affect you. It'll affect your kids for sure. And people think like, oh, if it's happening to these people, how's it going to affect me later? They don't understand all these big political decisions, how they're going to affect us 10, 20, 30, 40 years from now.
Exactly.
They think, oh, it's just something small right now, a little bit of arguing between parties, this and that. No, it's much more than that. Much, much more than that. And see, when I left politics back in 2017, I completely dropped out of college. I left getting a political science degree. I stopped paying attention to the media. I stopped getting involved in political debates. I stopped volunteering for campaigns. I was like, I'm done. Hands washed. I stopped caring for a while. I'm not going to lie. I did. But, what recently ignited that flame in me again was just seeing all that stuff going on, man. Like, I have kids now, and I don't want them to grow up in a world that's run by crazy communist people.
Right.
I want my kids to grow up in a decent country, decent place where they can be free to make their own choices. They can live freely and do as they please without having to worry about, oh, is this going to get me in trouble or going to get me killed, or is the government saying that this is okay? I got to ask, Uncle Sam, Big Daddy government, hey, can I do this? No, it shouldn't be a thing. And if we keep on this road that we're on, it's going to be a thing. And I truly believe, that we need a revolution of some sort. Obviously, a peaceful one. Hopefully, it's a peaceful one. And if it's not, then, there's nothing we can do to control that.
Exactly. But amen to that, man. Like I said, we just got to keep spreading the word, keep using this podcast to tell the truth. But, hey, man. Hey, look, it's been a good night.
Oh, yeah.
We had a good night. Was a good show.
Yes, sir.
So, hey, we're going to be on Thursday? We're going to be on Thursday.
Yeah, we got a guest coming on Thursday. His name is Roman. He's a Christian rapper. He's going to come and share with us his experience of a church he went to. He's going to share with us his near-death experience and his journey back to finding God. It's going to be great.
All right. That sounds good, man. It's going to be a great show. We hope you all, tune into that.
Yeah, man. I hope everybody tunes in and everybody have a great night.